back for my second vlog, and before we start, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out to me since my first vlog. I've just felt so overwhelmed with all the love and support and all the stories that I've heard since I've published, since my vlog went live. So again, I'm so excited for all of you and that you guys are part of this journey with me. And today I'll give you a slight TTC update, and then we will be talking about this little one, Penny. So, TTC update, I am on cycle day 15. I ovulated yesterday, yay! And then I took another ovulation test this morning and I was still ovulating. So, I'm feeling pretty good and pretty positive about this cycle, and hopefully this will be it. I'm using the Clinical Guard ovulation kit, just the cheapies that you can get on Amazon for like $5, like I said, at 20. And at first I didn't like them, but now I'm actually really liking them, because yesterday I got a positive that the result line was actually darker than the test line, and I've never had that happen before. So I was really excited. So they're okay. I talked to my doctor about it and he suggested doing digital. I have a hard time justifying spending that much money on an ovulation test that I will pee on once and never use again. So for those of you who do ovulation kits and do the digital, comment below and tell me what brand you use, how much you pay for it, and if you like it or not. That would be awesome. So now we'll move into our vlog today, which is all about meeting Penny, how we got into training a service dog for my husband and all that. So my husband was diagnosed with chronic depression when he was a teenager. He had had some depression problems growing up, but it wasn't really found out until when he was I think his junior year. And then actually, after he was diagnosed, a few months later, he was put into a local hospital after a failed suicide attempt, which a lot of people don't know that about him. And it's been, he's actually been more open about his depression and his bipolar since we've been married and since we've gotten Penny and Buddy, who I will talk about in a little bit. So, after he came out of the hospital, they got him on some medication and kind of went back and forth on all his different medications until he was in college, where we met. And I knew from pretty much the beginning of our relationship that he had depression problems, and I just didn't realize how bad they were until we'd been dating for a few months, and then he was so angry all the time, and things would upset him really easily. And come to find out, he had stopped taking his medication. And when I found out, I talked to him and like, well, why have you stopped taking your medication? And I just remember the look on his face about how upset he was. And he's like, I want to feel things. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And the best way he's described it to me, it's like your emotions are synthetic. They're not real emotions, and you don't feel things as deeply or as strongly. And I'm like, okay. And so we talked it out, and I said, okay, if you want to do this, I'm here for you, and I want to support you through this. And so we tried it for a few more months, and it did not go well at all. He was even more angry. He was feeling guilty about things. Lay down. Sorry, this is her first time, and she's actually been pretty good. So we'll see how she does through the rest of it. Anyway, so after a few months, it did not go well, and I decided I couldn't take it anymore. So I sat him down and I said, Taylor, I love you, but if you're not on medication, I cannot be with you anymore. And he was heartbroken and I was heartbroken, but we got him back on something and he was doing pretty good, but within a few months we have to change, a few weeks, we had to change it again. And then another 2 weeks later we had to change it again. And it's not, it's not an exact science. with getting your medication right. And so that went off and on until we got engaged, and then we got married a year and a half that we'd known each other. And so, yeah, we got married in 2012. And after that, he was having his depression took a weird turn. And he was really, really depressed, and he would get these ups and downs where he'd be extremely happy and then he'd be extremely sad. Lay down. And it was so hard to see that happen. And it got to the point where the medication wasn't working at all. And so we went and talked to his doctor, and his doctor says, well, I think you might be borderline bipolar. And we were like, we didn't even know what to say. With bipolar, you have, excuse me, with bipolar, you have to be on a completely different medication set. You have to be on mood stabilizers and anxiety medications and all this other stuff to combat the side effects. And we're like, oh, we don't know if we can do this. And then we talked to the doctor, we're like, we don't want to be on more medication. And Taylor can't handle being on anything more. And so he goes, well, and he was looking through his charts, and then he got quiet, and he's like, have you thought about doing a ESA or a service dog? We looked at him and we're like, no, we haven't. And back when Taylor was at the hospital, part of his recovery process and therapy was having the therapy dogs come. And it said in there that he excelled with that, and he made leaps and bounds with his depression by working with these therapy dogs. And the doctor said he thinks it would be very beneficial. And so soon after that, we asked my parents. I had a dog that was living with my parents, and I'd had him since he was a puppy. And we decided, because he's just so calm and so happy. And so we asked my parents if we could take him, and we got him approved. We live in specialized housing for the local university, and it's non-pet housing, and so we had to get it approved through the university to get him, and then we had to ask his teachers if it's okay if he comes to class, because we had decided to make him an ESA but start training him for service. So we got that all figured out, got him living with us, and Taylor he brightened up. Lay down. Brightened up, like him. And then we were on the medication for we didn't even have to change it for 6 months. And it was great. Taylor was doing great. Buddy was so happy. Buddy was doing great with his training. And I'll put in a picture of Buddy. So that was our Buddy boy, and he was just so wonderful. But this last October, or it might have been before that, I think it was in August actually, Buddy had started to grow a little growth on his shoulder, and we went to the vet, and they said it was nothing, just when dogs get older they get fatty tumors. It wasn't cancerous, but then it started growing and growing and growing. And then the day came where we had to decide whether or not it was fair to keep him alive when he was suffering, and we decided that it wasn't, and we put him down, and we were so sad. It was the hardest thing I've ever done up to that point. And I was just so devastated. I'd had him since he was just a tiny, tiny puppy, and I'm the one who trained him and got all of his stuff together and started training him to be a service dog, and taught him all his tricks, and he was my buddy, and I loved him so much, and Taylor loved him so much, and we didn't know what we wanted to do after that. Until a few weeks later, we went to the store to go shopping, and this little boy was holding the sweetest little puppy we have ever seen. This black and white thing, and she was covered in dirt and just so tiny. And Taylor picked her up, and she nestled into his neck and licked his face, and they just instantly connected. Oh, sorry, she's being sneaky. Come around. Lay down. And so he looks at me and I'm like, I don't think we're ready yet. So we give her back and we go into the store to go get our stuff, and Taylor's just kind of lollygagging behind me. Lay down. And I turned him like, what's wrong? And he goes, I can't leave her there. And so that day we picked up a puppy, and it was Penny. So she is a Australian Shepherd Border Collie mix. She is 10 months old and is very food driven, as you can tell. Lay down. And we started training her to be a service dog right away. And we've had her ever since, and she's just been a blessing. And at 6 weeks old, she had started alerting Taylor when he was having an anxiety attack. And saying, hey, calm down, focus on me. And so we didn't really even have to train her to do that. You stinky, come here. I have dog food to keep her, and dog treats to keep her happy and quiet and staying with me. So, and she's doing good, but now she's getting a little fussy, so I might have her get out of the vlog here in a minute. Come here, lay down, stay. I think the main thing that people are confused about when it comes to service dogs is the difference between a pet, an ESA, and a service dog. A pet is just someone's dog, someone's cat, someone's whatever, that they're not specifically trained for anything, and they're just there because you love them. An ESA is it's like an upgraded version from a pet. You don't need to have any special certification for them. Yeah, I'm gonna have her get out now. Or you can sit there quietly. Okay. They don't need any special certification or any special training. They just are there to help someone mitigate a disability, whether that is a mental disability or a physical disability, emotional disability. Lay down. And to help them get out into the world and help comfort them. But they are not specifically trained, and they do not have public access. A service dog it can be a dog, it can be a horse, it can be a pony, it can be pig. They're actually training pigs now. So it can be anything, but they are specifically trained to help mitigate a disability for their handler. So they're specifically trained in certain tasks, and their training is rigorous. They have to be trained to be well behaved and to help their handler. They have public access. That's, I think, the main thing that people get confused about. That they'll start bringing their ESA to the store. You cannot bring an ESA to a store. That is for service dogs. And Taylor and I were talking about it, and since we live in no pet housing, Penny's quite popular around our building. And all the kids love her, the adults love her, but they're like, and I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, "You get a dog? That's not fair. I want a dog." And I'm like, "Oh, well, she's a service dog. And service dog in training." And she goes, "Well, how did you get that approved?" I'm like, "Well, Taylor has a disability, and we went to the housing and kind of explained the process because we're very open about it." And she's like, "Oh, well, I can do that. I have anxiety. I have this. I'm going to go get one." And it's like, unless you have a disability, you don't need one. And it makes it so much harder. And while we were getting Buddy approved, it was so difficult because it took us almost 6 months to get him approved because people were taking advantage of ADA laws. And so this is for all those people who are like, "I want to be able to have a pet in non-pet housing. I want to do this. I want to do this." Please consider what you're doing and how your actions will affect people who actually do need a service animal or actually need an ESA. Because by you taking advantage of that, it makes it so much harder for people who actually need it to get approved. So just keep that in mind. And a lot of people ask me, well, what task is she trained for? Taylor doesn't look like he has a disability. He's not in a wheelchair. He's not blind. No, he's not. my favorite thing, I will link their website below. It's called the Lola Project, and it's about psychiatric service dogs. And there's one of my favorite things that they say. They have a little thing to put on your dog that says, "Not all disabilities are visible," and that's true. There's, whether that is a mental disorder, whether it's anxiety or autism or any post-traumatic stress disorder, not all of them are visible. Just because they're not in a wheelchair or blind does not mean that they don't need a service dog. And so I'll go over right now a couple of the tasks that she's being trained for. Right now, the main task is a medical alert, or alerting Taylor when he has an attack. That's the main one, and that one we have refined, but she kind of just naturally picked up on it on her own, and that's why we decided to train her to be a service dog. Another one that we're trained to do is crowd control, and that's just what we call it. It's where Taylor gets really bad crowd anxiety, and like going to the store, especially like a place like Walmart or Costco, is really hard because there's a lot of people there and they crowd around him, and he gets anxiety. He'll have anxiety attacks or panic attacks. And so what we call crowd control is that he'll give her a signal, and what she'll do is she'll just slowly kind of circle around him, and it provides a protective bubble of sorts, and to help kind of push people away. And also, as you have a service dog, people do kind of give you a little bit more room, which is great. You should always give a service dog handler a little bit more room, because you don't know what their disability is or what they're being trained for. And also, as a side note, I know this is off topic, please don't go up to a service dog and just grab them and start petting them. That is so counterproductive, and also they are trained to help with a task, and by you distracting them, that makes it 10 times harder for them to be able to alert to an attack, or if they're being trained how to focus on their handler when you're distracting them. So if you have kids, or if you yourself are like, oh, dog, and want to go and pet them, that's great and awesome. Ask the handler first. Say, may I pet them? And please don't be offended when they say, I'm sorry, she's working, I can't let you pet her or him. Sorry, going back to topic. So crowd control, medical alert, crowd control. She's also learning how to do deep pressure therapy, which is when Taylor does start to have a panic attack or an anxiety attack. What she'll do, she'll come and put her paws or put her body on him and lean all of her weight into him. It's called, a lot of people call it grounding, and it helps ground them and say, focus on me, don't focus on what's going around, everything's fine, it's just the two of us. And she's had great success with that. She's pretty much responds to all of her alerts and deep pressure therapy about 85 to 90% of the time. So it's mainly just right now we're working on public access, keeping calm in when there's a lot of action going around. And that just takes time and experience. And then another one we're training her to do is Taylor gets really bad obsession, almost like an obsession that someone's going to be in the apartment, and it gives him a ton of anxiety and like worry. So what we're going to be, and this is something that we're going to train steadily, you have to build up to each thing. And for those who train dogs, whether it's your own just personal pet or for other things, you'll know this, but for those who don't, you make little tiny baby steps to make a big task. And so another thing we're doing and we're starting to work on is called flush. That's what we're calling it, is when for those who train hunting dogs, when they flush a bird, we're saying flush as she's going to go through. So he'll open the door and say flush. She'll go into the apartment and make sure no one's in there. And then if she finds somebody in there, she'll bark. So that way Taylor's aware that there's someone in the apartment or in the house or whatever we decide, wherever we are. And if there's not someone in there, she'll just come back as an all clear. And then, so we have all, trying to think of, we're training her to do quite a few things. And she's also doing where she'll get his pills for him. So we're training her to retrieve pill bottles, and that's actually, she's doing pretty well at. It's picking up odd objects is kind of hard for some dogs. So we're training her how to go and get his pills if he needs them for an attack and he can't get up. And so I think that's everything so far. She can close doors. She can open service doors, automatic doors. Oh, okay. So a lot of people have asked, why did we not just get a dog from a group or a society, or an organization that trains service dogs? One, and I hate to make this the first reason why we did it, because all of them are equal to why we decided to train our own. One is the expense. A service dog can range anywhere between $16,000 to $52,000 for a service dog, and that's just to help cover the costs of the training and of the time that's put into. So that's one thing, and we decided we can't really afford that, so we decided that was one of the reasons. Another one of the reasons is we wanted her to bond with Taylor, and that we bond with her. Because if you get a service dog from a society, you don't get them till they're about a year or two old. We wanted to train her since she was a puppy to work for Taylor and to help manage Taylor. And so by us training her, they could form a connection. And let me tell you, I'll put in some pictures of them together. She absolutely adores Taylor. Like, she likes me, she loves me. But just her and Taylor have such a special bond. And to me, I feel like he could have bonded if we got a dog from an organization, but I just feel like with having her being trained by us, it made it a lot easier, the transitions. And we could also train her how we wanted her to act and how we wanted her to alert. And because Taylor, he doesn't like being pawed at, and so we just did the touch with her nose. Oh, and I totally forgot one of her other tasks that she's trained to do. Taylor has destructive behaviors he doesn't know he's doing. So he'll actually sit there and pick at his fingers. And she's like, what are you doing? And so we've trained her to interrupt that. So whenever she sees Taylor start to pick at his fingers, she'll go over and start slowly touch his hand. And she'll, even if he refuses to stop or if he doesn't stop, she'll actually lightly nip him until he stops. So that's another thing that another task that she's trained to do. So blessed to have her, and that she kind of just, I think Heavenly Father knew that she was supposed to be with us, and so she's so sweet. And she's usually a lot fluffier. We actually just recently shaved her, so I'll put a picture of her before she was shaved and now, and you can see her now, but so she's so happy that we got her shaved for the summer. She's been just so much more comfortable, and usually she doesn't sleep on the bed with us at all. She has her kennel. She's kennel trained, and she has been sleeping on the bed with us every night now that she's shaved because she's so much more comfortable. And yeah, so that's it. That's Penny, and so we'll be doing updates from now on about how our training's going. I'll put in some videos of how we train her and tasks that we train her to do, and how we just do a bunch of stuff in some public access. And as she gets better and better at public access, and you guys will get to see her grow. Are you done, baby? I'm done. You can be done. We'll be done in just a second. So that's it, and I'm so excited that you guys are watching this. And if you have any questions about me or about my TTC journey, or if you have any questions for Penny, you can leave a comment below. If you're new to my channel, thanks for watching, and please hit the subscribe button, and so you won't miss any of my videos. I post my TTC videos on Monday, and I post my service dog training and stuff that's going on in our daily life on Fridays. So I'm filming this on Thursday, so you guys will get to see this tomorrow for me. And I think that's it. And again, I'm so excited, and I love you all, and baby dust and smiles to everyone. And we'll see you next week. Bye.